Suck it, Eagles fans. That's right. What a game, everyone. And, before I get into it, I just want to say this. This was NFC East football that we saw tonight. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't perfect. But it was hard fought to the very end by both teams. There were missed opportunities. There were opportunities that were capitalized upon. And ultimately, it came down to who wanted it more. And the Eagles, they didn't want it enough. What can I say? They had that, I will admit, it's a pretty bad missed face mask on Jamin Davis. Yanked Dallas Goedert's face mask. It was a little bit after the ball was already forced out by John Ridgway, who definitely made up for that blunder last week against the Vikings with that forced fumble. But that being said, even with the turnover, the Eagles still stood up on defense, stopped us cold, and forced Joey Sly to kick a 55-yard field goal. And let me just give a quick shout-out to Joey Sly, because before this game, I had never really been too fond of him. I had just seen him as another former Panthers player that Ron Rivera had brought on just to fill a role on his team. But tonight, he absolutely delivered for us when Taylor Heinicke in the offense couldn't. And on top of that, the ground game was... It felt like a vintage Redskins ground game because it wasn't so many chunk plays. I don't think we had a single rush for over 10 yards. Not that I remember, at least. But we were just pounding away those 5-yard gains, those 6-yard gains, even those 3-yard gains. Those wore away at Philadelphia's defense, especially in the first half, considering is how we basically dominated time of possession by a 2-to-1 ratio. Or no, it was a 3-to-1 ratio. Yeah, that's right. It was like literally 75% of the first half was possessed by the Redskins. And the Eagles, while they started out strong with that forced fumble of Heinicke that had me like, oh boy, this is going to be a real long game. Oh boy, here we go. Blowout City. Let's see what we can do to make it a game. And then what do you know? The Eagles maybe get a little complacent. You see, well, they did have a couple injury scares with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, but Jalen Hurts threw that interception into double coverage to Derek Forrest. And again, you go back to the end of the game when the Eagles were trying to claw their way back. They managed to stop us, hold us to a field goal after the fumble, and then they get the ball back and they don't do anything with it. They punt it back to us and we don't do anything with it. Or wait, was that... I don't remember. Either way, there was a back and forth, and the Eagles just weren't able to do anything with the ball. That last play before the punt, before the 2-minute warning that led to the drive to seal the game, that, in my opinion, was the worst play that Jalen Hurts made all night. Because typically, Eagles quarterbacks, and this does not just go for Jalen Hurts. This went for Carson Wentz. This went for Nick Foles. Whoever lines up in a green uniform against that burgundy and gold. For some reason, there always seems to be some window through that defense. But on that third down and long, he just tucked it and ran right into Montez Sweat for the sack. And I was like, what is he doing? Because he had just... That was one of those moments where you felt like, okay, Washington doesn't have any momentum. Their defense is starting to get gassed. The Eagles are starting to claw back a little bit of that time of possession that they had squandered away in the first half. But, man, just Philly couldn't get it done. And, of course, that final play with Taylor Heinicke kneeling the ball to, of course, try and force the Eagles to use their last timeout, and then Brandon Graham, of all people, coming in late to hit him. I can't say it was intentional, but you can't do that. You gotta, as an NFL veteran too, you should be able to see that the quarterback has already taken a knee, given himself up, and knowing how this is such a quarterback-protected league, he should have known what to do. He should have had the wherewithal to restrain himself, let the punt happen, and give his offense another chance to make one last run at it. But that never happened because finally we got the better of Brandon Graham, a guy that has been screwing us for years. He devastated Wentz in that first game. And that's just been part of the symbolic story these past few years, ever since, 2015? Yeah, since 2015, 2016, the Eagles have completely had our number. And this just felt like we said no more. I had a feeling coming into this game that we would see a similar result as we did with the Steelers game back in 2020. When they were at 11-0, there was almost no talks of this Washington football team defeating the one undefeated team left in the nation. But they did it. They did it. Anyways, those are just some of my instant thoughts. Overall, really satisfied with this win. It was so very much needed because you guys have probably been seeing some of the power rankings, some of the ESPN Sports Center tier lists that they've been releasing, and they've got the Cowboys as a playoff lock. Well, let me tell you something, Dallas. It ain't so easy this time around because, as you just saw, you lost to Aaron Rodgers and the 3-6 Green Bay Packers. You guys are probably going to lose to Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings, and then just before you know it, you're going to be tied with the Redskins at 6-4 because we got the Houston Texans next week. That's all there is to say. Anyways, let me know what you thought of this game down below in the comments section. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Hope I didn't make you dizzy by all this pacing around the room that I've done. If I have, my sincerest apologies. But until next time, I've been Redskins Fans Unite. Hail!